Hi, and thanks for joining another episode of Channel Maven TV. I'm Heather K. Margolis of Channel Maven Consulting, and today my guest is Bruce Sherman. Thank you so much for joining us, Bruce.
I'm glad to be here. Thank
Excellent.
you.
And you are currently Senior Manager Channel Alliances at Insight.
Correct.
Tell us, Bruce, a little bit about what you do at Insight. What does that mean? How are you engaging with partners and alliance partners?
Yeah, so specifically what I do is I work with the OEM community, the vendors, and we have a nomenclature problem in the channel right now, so I'll try to be specific. The OEM vendors, I work with them in helping to identify new recurring revenue stream sources for what I refer to as the mid-tier providers in the channel. So by mid-tier, I mean service providers, VARs, integrators. Most of us in the channel see the channel divided up in a really nice pyramid of three tiers. So that's what I do. Great. So I help the service provider community identify opportunities for them to grow and expand their portfolios so that they can find new recurring revenue streams and eventually dig deeper into the enterprise customers that they service.
That's fantastic. So today we wanted to talk about 5 and 10 years ago, all anyone was talking about was the shift to the cloud and from prem to cloud and how it was going to change partners' business. And it has, and the partners that were able to make the shift did so and are doing well. We have the born in the cloud partners, but no one calls them that anymore because they're just service providers. And then we have the partners who either decided it was time to retire, they already had the 2 houses in the boat and the 3 cars. And there was also a lot of consolidation. Now we're talking about the shift that vendors and distributors have had to make to align with those partners. So tell me a little bit, I know you're super passionate about that. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so I've been in this. It happens to be a topic that seems to be on everybody's mind because wherever I've been at the events or just interacting with the OEM community and the service provider community, everybody's talking about how the roles are changing, we've had this. We've always had multiple tiers, and it's a multi-tier market, and it's more than just 2 tiers. But the supply chain for many, many years has included, a top tier or a tier 1, as some call it, of a reseller / distributor, and the distributors had serviced this kind of fulfillment role, and that went downstream through the VAR community, and the VAR community were working with the enterprises, and what I'm hearing from a number of people is as the top tier players, both in the reseller and the distributor community, start looking more and more like each other, we're all speculating, and there's been a lot of opinions that I've gathered, but we're all speculating what that tier 1 is going to look like 5 years from now. What do those players become? What's their role? Does the term distributor, actually survive the future, or does that take on a very different role? And as the tier 1 resellers and the tier 1 distributors kind of start looking more and more like each other, what does that mean for that community? And it's a smaller subset, but either way, the OEMs who have products to take to market are watching all this movement. And they're trying to figure out the best spend for their efforts and money, right? And so what's the best way to get their market out? But conclusively, it sounds like everybody agrees that the multiple tiers still can't go away because there's still a scale problem. Depending on who you read and what article you read, there's either 50,000 or 100,000 mid-tier players in the channel. OEMs just can't scale.
Well, and there are a couple of things there too. One, your top tier might be someone else's mid tier because they're so dedicated to you that they aren't giving any of the share of wallet to other vendors and distributors. And then the distributors also have started to add more value in different ways and almost started acting like a vendor, an OEM.
That's correct.
So we need to take a look at how partners can best be successful. So from a partner's perspective, what should they be looking for when they're looking to decide where their allegiance lies?
Well, I think because it's a little fuzzy, I think everybody's trying to be everything to everyone. So I don't know that anyone is really ready to step up and pick a horse in the race.
Right.
And I don't know, I don't know that that would be the best approach anyway yet, because I think there's some more maturity that needs to take place to find out, who's gonna rise to the top. And I think as the tier one players, morph to add different services and different products and expand their own portfolios, I think if I were in the position of an OEM having to take product to market, and I have been in my career, I'm going to be looking for the most complete partner. Right. So we still have to go to market. There's still tens and tens of thousands, whatever that number ends up to be in the long run. And when the census is all over, the mid-tier providers of service providers is still huge. So OEMs are still going to depend on someone's help for scale and feet on the street sales. So if I'm an OEM, I want a partner that's going to help me go to market, that can best penetrate that secondary tier. And I think that's what everybody's jockeying to position for right now.
Right. Another thing we talk about a lot is that it used to be top tier, mid tier, low tier, based upon more often than not revenue. And now the mid tier OEMs have to decide if they are truly mid tier or if they are growth partners and have more potential if given a little bit more support. So certainly we're not talking about the nationals out there; they're top tier, but how should you and your peers be looking at those mid-tier partners that might be ready to make the jump or might be able to bring in a lot more revenue if they had just a little bit more help?
Well, when I communicate with the OEM community, I communicate with the biggest brands in our business, and some that are considerably smaller, that we might all consider as ancillary solutions, and don't have the size of some of the bigger names. I don't know the requirements really change as I communicate with them, because as I speak to the service provider community, what I get back from communicating with them that I communicate back to the OEMs is, they need products that are easy to sell.
Right.
Really, it really doesn't. And the brand size is kind of irrelevant. It's still the same story.
Right.
I'm often heard, in a week or several times a week, telling an OEM, listen, don't call a service provider to tell them how great your product is, because all they care about is how much money can they make.
Right. How easy it is to sell.
Yes. Right. Or how much money might it save their operations or improve their business operations? That's what they care about. So really, the size of the vendor, the OEM, it's the same message.
Right.
They need to be able to transact quickly.
And so some of those service providers, you and I talked about this before, maybe aren't the best business people. They're technical first, sales second, whatever else third, and then you get business and marketing. How are you helping them? What do they need?
Yeah, and that's a great point, because there was it was a fantastic timing in the industry where there were individuals went out and put up signs in front of buildings that we're opening a business, and they had a skill set that a lot of enterprises were looking for as this whole X or IT as a service thing kind of exploded. And many of them told me all they had to do to get business is show up in the morning, turn on the lights, and unlock the door. so that with the maturity of the market and the proliferation of competition, now they have to start thinking about, pipeline, and most of them with, engineering backgrounds, IT backgrounds, don't know really what a pipeline is, but their businesses have matured where they're starting to see, these accidental business owners who've done extremely great in the form of growth now have to start doing growth on purpose.
Right.
So now they're expanding into, skill sets that they don't have. And this is where, we speak here from insight about our experience as a reseller, and we kind of understand their business model. But mostly that's what I find a lot of these businesses in the mid-tier that are looking for. They've had great growth. Some of them, double and triple year-over-year numbers,
right.
Outstanding. But it's starting to slow down. They're starting to lie awake at night wondering where their future pipeline's coming from. So they need help with that next maturity level, which is, developing, a true sales team, a sales structure, a sales pipeline, marketing activities.
And someone to own that they trust, because
right.
they're not the right person.
Right. And they've not, because the demand was so high, there's many of them who've been able to go along just fine up to this point without it. Right.
We have a lot of conversations with service providers who started their business and had a contract already. They started their business because they had a contract.
Right.
And 5-10 years have gone by, and that's either fizzled out, or that company was bought, or their champion at that organization has left. Or the OEM has completely changed their business.
Right.
So it's something that they have never had to think like this before, because they've honestly been making millions of dollars just, as you said, opening their door. And I just had Joe Gabriel from Informatica on last month, and we were talking about the buyer's journey. When you say buyer's journey to a service provider, they're like, huh? So not only do I have to be good and technical and understand my OEM's products better than anyone else, but now I have to make sure that when my buyer is out there looking for information, they're finding me,
right.
Which is more than just popping up a blog and crossing your fingers.
That's exactly right, and that's the challenge. Of all the players in the supply chain here, that's the challenge, and I find the OEMs to be in the most difficult spot, because that's the challenge that they have. They can't go to market successfully without getting through that mid-tier, and those mid-tier business owners don't necessarily have a resale or reseller background.
Right.
So they're trying to sales enable an entire, community between them and the end consumers that doesn't necessarily know how to consume what they've done for enablement forever.
Right.
Now their market
turn
needs,
services into to them, services, that's what I do. Right. But productize that.
Exactly right. Yeah, it's one thing, and again, in the nature of these businesses and the people who run them and the wonderful techies that they are, they'll figure out the technology really quick. They want to open the box and won't even read the instructions and start playing with it right away.
Sounds like me putting together a toddler toy.
Right, exactly. But they don't necessarily always know how to take a technology, fantastic technology, and monetize it.
Right.
Never been challenged with that thought process before. These are it's a very interesting times. I've been fascinated by the discussions I've been in all over the channel, and everybody's trying to predict a little bit, but I think it's just too soon. I think there's some time.
And it's always so much fun talking to someone so passionate about it. So Bruce, thank you so much. If you want to find Bruce on LinkedIn, it's linkedin.com/in/BB Sherman, SHERMAN. And thank you all so much for joining. This again is Heather K. Margolis of Channel Maven. You can reach me at Heather Margolis on Twitter. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you.